Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel, hope you're all good and well. So time for a new book review on the channel, and this time I'm venturing outside of the world of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, and going into a road slightly less travelled because this is a fantasy romance book. It is part of a series called the Halfling Saga. It's the first book in the series by Blair. It's called Broken Blades. It was published last year. The book itself, I believe, garnered a lot of popularity. I knew nothing about this going into this book, but it got a lot of popularity because the author submitted it for review by content creators on TikTok, and because of that it seemed like the book got a lot of hits on TikTok and a lot of views, and so it's become quite popular. But yeah, all I did was I went into a bookshop, I saw this book, I saw the front cover, read the back, and realised, oh, it sounds quite good, I think I'll buy it. I didn't know anything about the background to the book or the whole TikTok thing before buying it, so that was quite interesting to read about. So yeah, this is apparently a fantasy romance book. It has, you know, it's also called young adult. I think it gets categorised into the young adult part of fantasy, but it has some pretty adult themes to it, and there is a content warning actually on the first page of this book. This book is a fantasy romance that explores themes of alcoholism, addiction, colonialism, depression and systemic violence. While it's not the focus of this book or depicted graphically on the page, some content may be triggering for readers who have experienced self-harm, adult depression or suicidal ideation. So this book is very centred on, I would say, mostly on one character, and it follows one character pretty much all the way through. That character is called Kira, and she is an assassin who is working on behalf of this king. Now, Kira is a very conflicted person because while she is carrying out the duties for the king and killing pretty much on his orders, she has a conscience as well. She's not a killer without a conscience. She has a conscience, and it's partly because she is somebody that is the property of the king. She's been enslaved by the king, as have her people. They've been colonialized because they're not considered as subjects, not considered citizens in this society. And so she's a very oppressed character. You know, she is just doing her job. Sure, it's you know, it's a pretty brutal job that she's doing, but because of that, partly is why she experiences this conscience, this conflict within herself about the stuff she's carrying out. What I find interesting is that the way that side of things is written into her character, you know, this dark aspect of what she does and how she carries that with her, that, you know, she seems like she's actually a pretty good person, that she has, you know, reservations about what she does still, but she still does it anyway, because she has to survive. Because basically, as it explains in this decree early on, I think one of the first pages of the book here, that the citizenship of all halflings has been revoked. They are considered property of the crown. All halflings living in the kingdom of Elverath must turn themselves in, otherwise basically they're killed. So it's either death or Kira does what she has to do as an assassin. So it's a very difficult predicament, and it's on that predicament that the story really grows, and how Kira comes to know other characters in the story when she's sent to search for this shadow. As she finds out who the shadow is, that's where the story branches out even more, because you find out more about the history of this world a little bit more about the motivations of other characters involved, and you know, you find out more about why Kira really doesn't like this king at all, and the way the story sort of unfolds as she finds out more and more is what makes it, I think, you know, is what the pull of the story is, what kind of brings you in as the reader. And you know, there's some pretty good character work in here. I liked the way the supporting cast are introduced, and they're quite well developed, but I do think the strongest character in this story is the focal character, or the character that is followed the most, and that is Kira. She's really well, I think, realised and written generally. And you know, despite these dark themes, and it's the dark themes that are of, you know, I think are very interesting in this story, because the way Kira deals with her guilty conscience is actually self-harm. She writes in the names of her victims into her skin after she kills them, and you know, that's pretty dark, and it's kind of surprising the way this book is, you know, I don't know, the young adult is quite right for some of it, because yes, it's an easy-ish read, but the themes are very dark, but they're not graphic. It doesn't get too graphic at any point as you're reading through. But Yeah, it deals with a bit with. I didn't think the alcoholic side of Kira was kind of covered that much. Actually, it felt like there were moments in the story where it covered her alcoholic side. I would like to have read a bit more about that, maybe perhaps just as a point of minor criticism. But generally, her character is developed extremely well. Um, and you know, the thing is with this kind of story, I guess. I mean, the whole girl assassin thing has been done a lot in recent fantasy. I mean, I think of Mistborn and Vin in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. You also think more recently, probably most people will think of Arya Stark from Game of Thrones as well. But Kira is a bit, I think she's unique. She's not, you know, she has, like I say, those dark aspects to her character, and the way she deals with those. I think the way she deals with her conflict is what makes her a bit more unique and distinctive from maybe your more sort of typical kind of girl assassin character or trope that we've had in recent years. And that's kind of what I like about the book quite a bit as well. So the book also has, you know, you have some same-sex romances here going on. I think all the characters are assumed to be queer unless it's otherwise stated in the book at any one time. And yeah, like I say, I mean, I quite enjoyed this. It covered some difficult subjects in a pretty mature way. The story was an easy read. The interactions were quite interesting. Some good tense moments in the book as well as it develops. As you know, it comes towards quite a good climax, I think, as you get towards the end of it. You know, I think it's basically, I would sum it up by saying it's a good, involving fantasy story with some modern themes, relatable characters, and it's pretty good on the whole. Where I might be slightly critical is, you know, the story for its depth of characters. I would have liked to have known a bit more about the background to the king, to that side of the story, maybe just to develop that so you could see more about the motivations of Kira, and maybe a bit more about the world itself. I take it, you know, I get this is an epic fantasy, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more of a painting of some of these other aspects of the world, some of the other aspects of, you know, like maybe the Fae, to perhaps been written a little more as well. But pretty good, pretty good. Not sure whether I'll go on to the second book of the series. Kira is for me the thing that might bring me back because her character is so interesting. I sort of almost want to go on to the second book for that reason. But the story itself, I feel like, yeah, you know, it's okay, it's pretty good. Maybe I'll come back to this, maybe I won't. We shall see with good times. Hope you enjoyed this book review. Do let me know. Have you read this series? Did you enjoy it? If you read A Broken Blade, what do you think of A Broken Blade? How do you think it compares to lots of other stuff you're reading at the moment? Modern fantasy? Do you like this kind of thing? Just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, from me, thanks for watching this video. Till next time, bye for now.